All right, so I'm Alana Gomez. I'm with the Samuel Proctor Oral History Program. It is March 4th at 1:58 p.m. and I'm here with Symphony. If you want to introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Symphany Lindsay, and I currently serve as the president of the Black Student Union here at the University of Florida.
Perfect. Thank you, Symphony. And thank you for joining with me today. So some of the questions I want to ask mostly all center around Black Thursday and how we should commemorate and celebrate that event, especially because it is 50 years in the making this year. So when is the first time you heard about Black Thursday and how did you hear about it?
Okay, so my freshman year, I actually heard about Black Thursday, and it was from attending a Black Student Union GBM, a general body meeting. Typically, depending on when the school year ends, we still have GBMs towards the beginning of April sometimes. So there was a GBM that discussed the significance of Black Thursday and kind of just highlighted the history behind it. So that was the first time I had access to that information. But the next time I heard about it was me serving as a PACT peer leader, which is just a program for transitioning like freshmen. So it's just like a program that helps them transition to college life. I was able to actually interact with the information there and help teach the incoming freshmen about Black Thursday. So that's when I learned about it a little bit more as well.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So does BSU as a whole do something every year for Black Thursday?
No, it's completely up to the acting and elected officials' discretion on what is hosted that year. This year we have some plans in mind. We're definitely still brainstorming, but definitely it's up to those that are leading that year, but it's not necessarily set in stone what is done.
Mm-hmm. And for this year, you said you're still brainstorming. Is there anything set in stone or just anything you want to tell me about what will be going on?
Yeah, at the moment, there's nothing set in stone yet, but we're definitely going to be commemorating the event, especially probably working closely with Black Affairs this year. But typically Black Affairs kind of hosts the main celebrations, and they always ask for just collaboration and participation from BSU solely due to BSU's whole link to the beginning of Black Thursday and everything like that.
Yeah, exactly. And so you talked a little bit about, I think you said PACT was educating on it on Black Thursday. So what else does BSU do to educate about Black Thursday? Is it talked about every GBM or assembly?
No, it's not talked about every GBM typically. I believe it's only mentioned when it's directly referenced, or if someone were to ask why we typically do our GBMs on Thursdays, we kind of connect that significance back to Black Thursday, which is why we have GBMs and meetings on Thursday, but it's not a continuous thing that is mentioned.
Oh, I didn't even know that you all do your meetings on Thursday. That's really cool. So what other Black history events do you educate in? Is there a curriculum that as BSU members you all learn about, or not really?
Not really. We definitely try to make sure that we're educating the community on key topics and concepts within our community that directly impact us as individuals and as a unit. Especially since Black History Month just passed, we had a full calendar of events every single day, basically, for Black History Month that talked of topics that directly impact our community, such as just mental health, things of that nature. But we do not follow a specific curriculum that outlines detailed events that we need to discuss. We just honestly see what the community needs at the moment, and the current acting executive board is allowed to use their discretion about what specific topics they feel are best needed to be covered at that time. Mm-hmm. That definitely causes certain topics to be more relevant throughout the years, of course, especially in light of a lot of the things that have happened lately, especially within police brutality. So there's been definite discussions about that frequently throughout the year since I've been here at UF, but it's not we follow a curriculum that determines what we discuss at each GBM.
Yeah, that makes sense. So for Black History Month this year, was Black Thursday covered in that at all?
It was not. In the sense, yeah, it was not in the sense that like there was an actual event or initiative that was dedicated to that specific event yet. And it may just be because like April 15th is like kind of very, far.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of its own month for it. I understand. So what do you think is the significance of Black Thursday for Black students at UF to learn about? Like, why should they learn about it, but also students at UF as a whole?
Honestly, the significance for me, and then if Sharice would like to answer as well, she can. But the significance for me is really just understanding the lengths at which a lot of those who came before me that looked like me, that had similar experiences, but some at most times worse experiences than me in this like country, the lengths that they went to make sure that I can have the opportunities I do today. Though we are still experiencing some levels of challenge and oppression here, it definitely just shows that there is an opportunity to organize and create change. Even if we are marginalized and a minority here at the University of Florida, it just gives me a bit of more understanding of what we as a people, once we organize and once we set our foot down, can accomplish. And it really just makes me kind of like reflect on what others have sacrificed in the past to make sure that others in the future have a better opportunity than they did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a great answer. And I love to hear that. But also in a general sense too, moving on to like the whole student body, why should they learn about it too?
I think it would definitely just highlight how in general, UF has not been the most easy institution for a lot of minority students to attend, and how there is sometimes a very dark not even sometimes, there's a dark history at play here. And typically that's the case at a lot of predominantly white institutions. There's a need for everybody to acknowledge the history and the past events that occurred that placed stratification, basically like layers in which like people were treated here at the university, so that once we acknowledge that and once we educate each other on it, we're able to continue to try to move past it and make sure that there's policy and change implemented that like no longer allows those same types of oppression and the same types of misjustice to like occur.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it should be UF's responsibility, or do you think UF should take a greater role in educating about Black Thursday?
I think they can. However, there's always like for me personally, I always believe there's just such a responsibility, an individual responsibility amongst ourselves to continue to educate ourselves. So yes, I definitely think that it would be helpful if UF did. However, I definitely acknowledge that there's a responsibility amongst, young adults to take it up on themselves to make sure that they are educated about the university that they attend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just talking about how we are 50 years full circle with Black Thursday, how do you feel as a student here at UF? Do you feel comfortable? Do you feel, obviously, Black Thursday paved the way for a lot of things, but how do you feel about the current culture now?
There's definitely, I'll just say there's definitely room for improvement on an individual level. Of course, there has been instances in the past couple of years that have made being a student here sometimes a little bit like more troubling as a minority, especially like the protests that occurred, I believe it was last year when Donald Trump Jr. came. Just instances such as those just continue to like increase certain stress levels for a lot of minority students and Black students in general, kind of thing. So I wouldn't say there hasn't been an improvement among like the treatment for Black students here at the University of Florida, but there are definitely still instances that make being here, like being a student at the university, harder for us, and it definitely impacts our matriculation because we're stressed about like the societal and racial implications of being a Black student here at the University of Florida.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for sharing that with me. In terms of commemoration, as we approach the 50 years, how do you feel Black Thursday should be commemorated at UF? especially because there isn't a plaque outside of Tiger Hall saying that this is where Black Thursday happened. There isn't anything in the rights as of right now with Black Thursday exhibitions. So what do you think about that?
I would love to say, and to commemorate Black Thursday, definitely plaques and monuments would definitely be nice, and I would appreciate it, and I believe that others would be able to appreciate it as well, especially if they are not educated on the topic. However, I would love for the 50th year anniversary to be commemorated through other areas of change, and just for certain promises to be like completely followed through. So like just change on like the policy level, maybe name changes like buildings, just direct action to try to make UF like a more equitable place for all students. So a plaque would definitely be great, but active change and active policy and active consideration of what administration and faculty can do to make UF a more comfortable place for minority and Black students would definitely be something that I would love to see.
And speaking on, you mentioned renaming buildings. Yes. So how do you feel about the OConnell Center? What do you think about that? What do you think about taking down the name of that?
I mean, again, I don't speak for like everybody when I say this, but like it would be something nice. It would definitely be something nice, just to show that there is something that they can tangibly do that shows that they respect the voice of a lot of students. It's been a debate for years upon years. I'm not the first one to say it. We're not the first people. It's not the first time that this has been a demand for people. So I definitely think it's a shame that it continues to be like a struggle to get that change to happen. I've talked to administration. They've explained like the process and why it's a difficult thing to accomplish. But I definitely would view the actual change as a tangible way that they're showing that they're at least listening and respecting the voice of students.
Yes, and Black students specifically.
Yeah, and Black students specifically.
And so you said you talked to administration. When was that, and what was that like?
Okay, yeah. So I've talked to administration, and when I say administration, I just mean like faculty, those within UF's sphere, not necessarily like those that work in administration or like admissions. But I've like throughout the summer, especially when especially when BSU's list of demands came out, like I had the opportunity to meet with Antonio Farias, who is the CDC, not CDC, the chief diversity officer. So the CDO or something, chief diversity officer, and also President Kent Fox. And we were able to honestly like have some genuine conversations about like the split between like administrations and students and why there's like such a sometimes misunderstanding or just lack of acknowledgement sometimes on both sides, and like just trying to like understand where we're both coming from and like where's the common ground and how we can move forward and make sure that like we're able to hold administration accountable and make the changes that were promised. So basically through the summer and then like up until towards the end of last fall, but we still have the opportunity to continue to meet with them. They're like pretty open for meetings. It's mostly scheduling between both of us kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So is President Fox and the other gentleman you mentioned?
Yes.
So them too. And then, so what was their answer for you?
Yeah. Okay. So basically the answer was more so, there's just some legality reasons as to why there has been, I guess, a pause in certain actions. Basically, they were able to remove certain things. They removed a monument that was in St. Augustine that was in connection with the University of Florida that had a Confederate's name on it. It was like a monument of a Confederate soldier, and they removed that. but certain buildings on campus are a bit harder to deal with because there's like certain avenues that they have to go through that have control over like what's named, like if something was like gifted or not, or like if they named it themselves. So that was the basic answer.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of money tied into there.
Yeah.
I figured that. And so, yeah, so President Fox sent out that racism and diversity, I don't know, remember the name of the email, but is that where the BSU's demands were submitted for the summer?
Oh, no. See, the BSU's demands, they say that the BSU demands incorporated a lot of the things that they already were working on, and that the anti-racism statement was already going to be published. And a lot of the initiatives and task force that were discussed within the anti-racism letter were already established prior to the demands that were released. So there's a statement that they weren't connected. However, there are a lot of initiatives and task force that kind of speak directly to what the demands listed.
Yes. And just to refresh my memory, the demands were released on change.org.
The demands were first released on our social media platforms, and then there was a petition that was attached on change.org. Yes.
And that was in response to George Floyd, or that was before?
It was not in response to George Floyd. It was in response to just the recurrent experiences that we were observing that summer, and the school's like lack of kind of like response in that sense. So it's kind of a climax as well. Yeah.
And so did President Fox or anyone from the administration reach out to you saying like, we see these demands, we hear you, or was it just the email and that's how you know they saw it?
Yeah, President Fox, because I emailed President Fox as well, and he emailed me back as well. So yeah, there was like communication between administration and BSU after the list of demands were published. And Antonio really, like after the list of demands were published, like really tried to continue to establish like communication between us, and scheduled multiple meetings and like tried to attend town halls and really hear like the voices of the students.
Mm-hmm. And have any of those demands been met?
Not completely, no. There's definitely like starts, and I can appreciate that there has been movement towards change. However, I will not feel comfortable unless I see like continuous and consistent action for those initiatives that were promised, and the demands to be continuously like acknowledged, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And I know where to find them, but for the purpose of this interview, do you have off the top of your head them so you could say them, or not really? Or maybe list some of them?
It's okay. Like if you have those.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. And then I was also going to ask, do you feel like the administration and President Fox has been helpful in this, or not really?
I would say that in many ways they have done better than historically. And I feel like in many ways they feel like they are trying to be helpful. But then there's always just like the acknowledgement that even if someone is trying, or they think they're trying their best, it's still not the actual change that needs to happen yet. So there's definitely been like action that I can acknowledge. However, I would love and appreciate, and I'm pretty sure others would also appreciate additional change and additional efforts from administration to basically reassure students that their voices are heard and that they are cared for.
Mm-hmm. And between the demands submitted for Black Thursday and right now, has there ever in the past 50 years been other demands submitted by BSU?
Oh, yes. Like I don't know off the top of my head, like I don't have that as a documentation or anything, but yes, like demands happen often. So yeah. Definitely is something that has occurred before.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any maybe last comments on, as this full circle moment of Black Thursday happened, you've now submitted another list of demands on what that means, maybe to you historically or to you at this university, maybe a comment on how UF is still in the same place, or however you feel.
To me, it just shows that we still, as a people, as the Black community, are still resilient and still dedicated to making sure that we are given the same regard as others here at the University of Florida, and also that like we're willing to do the work to make sure that we're able to benefit from a equal and equitable learning environment that doesn't dispel any more stress than what is necessary at a university.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And do you have any other last comments or things you want to add?
No, thank you for listening to me. Like I said, though I am the president, I do speak for myself, but like I really do appreciate just like the voice of the students being heard, like, or a voice of a student being heard.
Yes, yeah, that's great. And thank you for talking to me, because that's exactly what the oral history program is for, just to make sure we save these voices that can then be heard later on or now. So yeah, that was all the questions I had. And I guess if there's anything else, I can email you, but I just want to say thank you again and good luck with the rest of your school year and with everything going on for the event in April.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.